I started Intel in the very beginning of 1992. And I came in as my first job, which was short lived, and I'll explain why, but I was called a equipment engineering supervisor. And it was called the EES org. And we ran the maintenance technicians that did all the maintenance work in the factory. But at that time, Intel was blurring the line between the operations work and the equipment work or the maintenance work. And so I started there. That job quickly morphed into, we started separating it again, and we morphed into a more traditional operations management type role. And from there, I kind of just worked my way up through manufacturing ranks at Intel, through supervision into ship management, did a couple of other jobs working in as part of the manufacturing staff, and then moved into a factory production manager. That's where I met you. I was a factory production manager when I met you.
Yeah, talk about a little bit how that all got kicked off. It sounded like you're a little bit reluctant at the beginning, as many people are.
Yeah. As I said, I was the fab production manager. And as part of that, we ran kind of the tactical operations across, we had four shifts. It was a 7 by 24 structure. And we were responsible for managing the day-to-day operations of the factory. There were teams that worked within the factory that had shift management and their own managers, but I kind of provided the overall direction and tactical management as part of that. And spent a lot of time as the interface between the manufacturing manager and the production teams at the time. And I also had what was called the operations systems engineers, and they reported into me, and we managed all the way from like MES upgrades to all of our tools and systems that we used in the factory to manage with.
Were you guys doing capacity planning, long range capacity planning, or just managing day to day?
No, we did. We had a separate IE group that did the capacity planning, but we worked very closely with them. They were probably, I'd say, the right hand and the left hand of the fab and stuff. So we worked together very closely. And I can talk a little bit more about that later. So when I got pulled in by the manufacturing manager one day and said, "Hey, we're bringing a group in to help us kind of understand how we can maybe run the factory a little bit better. It's the factory physics group, and you're going to be one of the key contacts for them." There were other key contacts as well, but I was one of them. And I was just like, "Oh, I got so much to do." And, it just seemed like it was just such a big distraction. As like another consultant coming in. And so anyway, got into it and, met you and Mark Spearman and your team that you brought in. And I don't know how long it took, but suddenly I was starting to realize like, wow, this is very eye opening to there's a different world out there about how a factory could run. And I learned something early on from you guys because you guys kept talking about what was the ideal state versus we were always benchmarking. We were benchmarking the guy down the road and stuff. And you guys talked a lot about things that we just never thought about. And also, the thing I learned very quickly was how variability was impacting our factory.